The Toronto Raptors are your 2019 NBA champions, but some big news coming out of the NBA last night is Klay Thompson tearing his ACL after he fell awkwardly going to the basket in the third quarter of last night's Game 6. Klay is set to be a free agent this offseason, can sign with any team that he wants, may miss all of next year. We'll see how fast Klay can heal. We've got the top 10 free agents in the NBA for this offseason coming up on this edition of NBA Now. Before we get to those players, before we take you through the top 10 and predict where they're going to land, I want to ask this question for you. With Klay going out with the injury, maybe missing all of the year, with Kevin Durant missing all of next year, potentially could be signing elsewhere in this offseason, is the Warriors dynasty over? Type Y for yes, type N for no. If you're typing Y, that means you think the Warriors are never going to win a title with this group of players. Type N if you think they will, and the dynasty will continue. All right, Thomas Mott, filmed just before Game 6 got underway last night, is going to take you through the top 10 free agents of this offseason and make a prediction on which team each one will sign with. Thomas, take it away.
Hey NBA fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports and a special edition here as we are going to not only rank the top 10 remaining free agents, the top 10 free agents going into this year's NBA offseason, but also I'm going to predict where I think every single one of the top 10 is going to land. Again, it'll be a fun video. You guys get a lot of interaction with this one, and we'll see how many of these I actually get right because, again, it changes a lot based on who signs where. Then this guy could sign there as well. Let's just start at number 10 and work our way down, starting with D'Angelo Russell. So, of course, the Brooklyn Nets point guard right now, formerly of the Los Angeles Lakers, is going to be a free agent. And there are a lot of questions on where he could potentially go. Now, here are the top 5 landing spots I see for D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, re-signing in Brooklyn is a very real possibility. Yeah, the Clippers, Knicks, T-Wolves, and Pacers are all on par to be rumored to be interested in D'Angelo Russell's services. So here's the deal. If the Nets go ahead and want to sign Kyrie Irving, then obviously D'Angelo Russell is probably going to leave. Now, there is a report that the Nets are willing to keep both D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense because both are ball-dominant point guards. But other than that, we'll see what happens in terms of what they do with Kyrie Irving, who we will talk about later. I think that he might leave Brooklyn, and if he does, my prediction for D'Angelo Russell is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yes, think about this. Okay, D'Angelo Russell, you would pair him up, a young duo of Russell paired up with a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns. Remember, the number 1 and number 2 overall picks in 2015 during that year's draft. Listen, high pick and roll, 2 offensive players, elite scorers. This could be a lot of fun for a team in Minnesota that has had some success but has not been able to get over that playoff hump. And adding a star like D'Angelo Russell into the mix with Karl-Anthony Towns, to me, could be a very exciting front court, well, I don't want to tell you that front court, back court, in terms of very excited high pick and roll there at the top of the key and could create a lot of scoring opportunities. And listen, Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell are reportedly very close friends as well, so look for Cat to be potentially trying to pitch and move D'Angelo Russell to the Timberwolves in terms of this year's offseason. Again, I'll say it one more time. The Nets could be a very likely landing spot for him. He could stay in Brooklyn, especially if they aren't able to get Kevin Durant or someone else we're going to talk about later. But I will say this, look out for the Timberwolves. That would be my prediction for D'Angelo Russell. Moving right along, number 9, DeMarcus Cousins, who of course has been under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of talk here about him happening in the NBA Finals. And so there are a couple teams here that could potentially be in the mix for DeMarcus Cousins. Bucks, Lakers, Spurs, Warriors, and Mavs are on my list. Remember, the Warriors cannot re-sign him for more than 120% of his 2018-2019 salary, which works out to about $6.4 million. Remember, he took a lot less to play for Golden State. So a lot of people will say he's just going to re-sign with Golden State. Well, that'll only happen if no other team wants to pay him more than, again, $6.4 million. So they're on the list. It's a possibility, especially with the whole KD situation going on in the in Golden State right now. But I don't think he's going to be a Golden State Warrior going forward next season. I'm actually going to predict it's between the Bucks and the Spurs, and I would have to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. You talk about a team that is looking to add another piece because, again, they were the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference for so long, and then you get to the Eastern Conference playoffs, you get the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're unable to get past Kawhi in Toronto. So you sit there and you go, we got to improve somehow, and maybe a fully healthy Boogie, right? A Boogie with a full offseason with a team and actually playing, not just the minutes he's gotten in the finals in terms of, coming off of the quad injury, I think could be a real asset to a team that is looking to just add a couple more pieces here and there to really get them over the hump there in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go with Boogie landing in Milwaukee with the Bucks. All right, question time. Would you want Boogie on your team? Because again, a little bit of baggage there, right? The injury issues. I'm curious if it was your team, whoever you root for, right? It could be anybody, Orlando or the Knicks or the Mavericks, whatever. Would you want Boogie on your team? Let me know in the comments down below. Moving right along here, number 8, Tobias Harris, of course, the Philadelphia 76er, former LA Clipper. Top 5 landing spots are on your screen right now. Sixers, Nets, Jazz, Mavericks, and Knicks. Now again, listen. The Nets are an interesting pick here for Tobias, especially if the Sixers do not re-sign him. Because again, same with you talk about D'Angelo Russell in Brooklyn. If they keep D'Angelo Russell, then you can look at an opportunity where the Sixers might want to go ahead and keep Tobias Harris as well. So if that's the case, then the Sixers are a very real possibility. The problem for me is, and why I'm going to predict that he lands on the Brooklyn Nets, is because, again, the Nets cleared 2 max contracts, right? So if they miss out on the Durant, the Kyrie Irving sweepstakes, and let's say they re-sign D'Angelo Russell, they might have an extra max slot, and they go, you know what? Let's just throw it at Tobias Harris. He'll accept the money, and he'll be a good second role player, the second best player on this team if we keep D'Angelo Russell. Even if they were going to get a Kyrie Irving and then not able to get a guy like, let's say, Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler, then you could throw money, that max slot at Tobias Harris. So I'm going to go ahead and predict that Tobias Harris will be a Brooklyn Net come this offseason. Moving right along here, number 7, Kristaps Porzingis. Now, many people are like, wait a second, didn't the Mavs just trade for Kristaps, so he's going to be a Maverick for... Well, okay, listen, here's the deal. So the Mavericks can offer this qualifying offer, right? So if Porzingis wants to re-sign with the Mavs right now, he can sign a 5-year, $150 million contract, and then in next season, and take just $4 million for this one season. And of course, having just made $18 million in his entire NBA career, this makes a lot of sense. But he can also, not sign the qualifying offer and go ahead and test free agency and see what happens in terms of the open market. So, of course, your top 5 or top 3 landing spots right now are the Mavericks, Lakers, and Nets. Again, we throw the Nets on there because they did clear up the, essential max contract spot. This one to me is very simple. He's going to sign the qualifying offer and stay in Dallas to be a Maverick because, again, Doncic, the young core there, another player who's rumored to be in the mix. We'll have that in a second here later on in this top 10 list. I think Kristaps is probably the one that I can guarantee on here. If I was going to put my money somewhere, is Kristaps is going to go ahead and stay with the Dallas Mavericks. All right, moving right along here. Number 6, Jimmy Butler, obviously a 76er. Now a free agent. He can sign the max, $32.7 million with the team this offseason. That's per year, right? Remember, there's a lot of money in the NBA. And so there you go. Top 4 teams are on your screen right now. Sixers, Rockets, Clippers, and Nets. Now, I will say this. The Rockets could be an interesting dark horse team here because, again, Daryl Morey said, the GM for the Rockets, that he is looking at all options to improve his team. And if you go for a Jimmy Butler, would be a big upgrade over CP3 in my opinion. So don't count out the Houston Rockets. But for me, it's kind of simple. My prediction, he will stay in Philadelphia. He recently bought a house there. I think he likes the organization. He likes the city as well. And I think if you're looking at it in terms of from Philadelphia's perspective, you need a scorer, right? You have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Both can basically not score outside of 10 feet. Butler was very, very clutch for them later on in the season. He had some big 30-point games, hit some big game winners. I think Butler is going to stay, re-sign with the max in Philadelphia and create kind of a big 3 now with Simmons and Embiid. And listen, if you're the Sixers, you just hope that Simmons can start shooting the ball better, which is, a big hope. And if Embiid can stay healthy, the 3 of them, Butler, Simmons, and Embiid, can be a pretty good 1-2-3 punch. And so I predict he is going to stay with the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, now we're into the top 5. And again, listen, there are people who might be like, well, Thomas, you got Kemba at 5. I like Jimmy better than Kemba. Listen, it can move around a little bit here, right? For me, though, Kemba Walker is sitting there at number 5. And here's the interesting part about Kemba. He can stay in Charlotte and sign a supermax. right? He made the third-team All-NBA, which means he's eligible to sign a Supermax, so the most money is in Charlotte. Now, we'll throw him up on the board there. You see him right there. Hornets, Mavericks, Lakers, Knicks, and Magic are the 5 rumored places he potentially could wind up. 2 places here are really interesting. Okay, if he doesn't stay in Charlotte, which I don't think he will, right? I think he's done with Charlotte. He's been there for 7-8 years. They've had 2 first-round Eastern Conference exits, and that's it. That's all they can speak of in terms of Kemba Walker. The organization refuses to build around him. Their draft picks have been really bad. He's going to leave, right? Let's just get that out of the way. Now, when you wonder where he's going to go to, for me, it's 2 spots. Mavericks are very interested, from everything I've read, and that could be an interesting spot, pairing with Luka and KRISTAPS. We mentioned that earlier. Or the New York Knicks, who, again, have the cap space and are prepared to make a run, presumably, at Kevin Durant. Now, obviously, we're going to get to Durant later, but for me, I'm going to predict that he is most likely going to be a New York Knick. Yes, you heard it here. Right? Talk about the Mavericks, right? The Mavericks could be the pick here, and they're very interested in him. I would see him going to New York, being paired up with R.J. Barrett, and then, little spoiler here, waiting for Kevin Durant to become healthy going forward. You go from Charlotte, which is a nice city, a nice market, to the #1 market in New York. You'd be beloved by the Knicks, and I think the Knicks have the pieces in terms of money and draft picks to start getting the right team built around Kemba Walker there. So I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. All right, moving on here into the top 4. Kyrie Irving. He's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up. Again, can sign the max, $32.7 million. Top 4 landing spots here. Nets, Lakers, Knicks, Celtics. Of course, he could stay in Boston. Let's just get that one out of the way. I don't think he's going to be staying in Boston with the whole Terry Rozier, and he doesn't like the coach, and it's a little dicey there in Boston. So here you go. For me, Knicks, Lakers, Celtics would be the top 3. Sorry, Nets, Lakers, and Knicks would be the top 3 there. Let's get that right. Okay, a lot of talk about him going to Brooklyn, right? There's a ton of talk of him going to Brooklyn. They get rid of D'Angelo Russell, and he becomes the face of the Nets. All right, that's fair. The question will be, can they get him a second star? Because the Nets, as currently constructed, with Kyrie Irving at the helm and removing D'Angelo Russell, are not a championship-level team. We mentioned Tobias Harris earlier, so you could pair up Kyrie with Tobias Harris. That's a nice 1-2 punch. But if I'm Kyrie Irving, and I think he's having these conversations, these thoughts in his head, why go to Brooklyn, where I can lose in the Eastern Conference semis or Eastern Conference semifinals every single year, be the guy, or I could go to the Los Angeles Lakers, reunite with LeBron. I know what I'm getting there. I'll be the second fiddle, but listen, if the Lakers were to add Kyrie, keep the young core, again, they're signing Kyrie in the offseason, they're not giving up draft picks to get him, the Lakers are automatically, especially if KD leaves the Warriors, a top 3 team in the West, and I would argue, even with all the dysfunction, could be the best team in the Western Conference because the 1-2 punch of LeBron and Kyrie, we've seen it in the past, beat the 73-win Golden State Warriors just a couple of years ago. My prediction, the Los Angeles Lakers. We keep hearing Brooklyn. I said it before. Everyone's going to tell you Brooklyn, Brooklyn, Brooklyn. I think he's going to end up a Los Angeles Laker when it is all said and done. All right, question for you guys on Kyrie. I'm curious what you guys think. Where will Kyrie play next week? Again, L for Lakers down below. It's very simple, so no. N for Knicks, or N for Nets, excuse me, and then K for Knicks. I want to see where you guys are voting down below. I read all the comments, and I'm curious, what do you think of my prediction? Might be a little controversial of Kyrie going to the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, into the top 3. Klay Thompson sitting here at number 3. So the most he could get in the first year of his extension is the same with the Warriors with Boogie Cousins, is 120% raise. Again, with the highest annual increase allowed, that put Thompson's extension at like 4 years and $102 million. You add in the fact he's just making 18.9 in this year, and so it makes a lot of sense that he could sign a maximum 5-year, $121 million salary with the Golden State Warriors to stay there, right? That's the scenario if he is going to stay. Now, here are the top teams thrown up on the list. Again, Warriors, Lakers, Nets, of course, coming from Los Angeles. The Lakers could make a lot of sense. And then let's say the Nets got Kyrie. They could throw money at Klay and then pair him up in Brooklyn, so there's another possibility there. I will also say this, and I got sources saying that he will most likely at least take a meeting with the Atlanta Hawks and their GM, Travis Slink, who was the former GM in Golden State. Not saying he's going to sign in Atlanta, because I don't think he will, but he will at least take a meeting with them, and so expect that here during the offseason. For me, it's simple, though. Listen, he's not going to leave Golden State, especially since, and we're going to get into Kevin Durant most likely leaving, you're the number 2 guy with Steph Curry in a brand new stadium there, Chase Arena in San Francisco. They're going to give you a max. It just makes a lot of sense to stay. He loves it there. He loves the fans. He loves the organization. It's run well. You got Steve Kerr at the helm. You got Steph Curry as your running mate. The Splash Brothers are reunited, technically, and will both be staying in Golden State. I have Klay Thompson staying as a Golden State Warrior. All right. Getting a little dicey here. Top 2, obviously Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant. You can go 1A, 1B. You can mix them around here. I will start with Kawhi Leonard. Of course, can sign the $32.7 million max contract. Top 3 landing spots, Raptors, Clippers, Lakers. There are many people who will tell you the Knicks, the Nets are in the running there. Listen, it's Raptors or Los Angeles. He said he wants to go to the beaches. He wants to be in Southern California. So if he doesn't stay in Toronto, it's either with the Clippers, who, again, are going to be a very interesting team here in free agency. I've said none of these players are going to end up at the Clippers, but, any one of them could, technically. And so Kawhi, to me, would make more sense if he's going to pick an LA team, Clippers over Lakers, because he's the man there in the Clippers organization. But I'll be honest with you guys. My prediction, he stays in Toronto. Listen, Lowry, Ibaka, they're all under contract for one more season. Think about that. So he can take one more run with the team that he currently has. Obviously, NBA Finals, right? Obviously, you're there. So he can make a run with these guys one more year. Then after that, let's say they, lose out to a rekindled, revamped Buck squad, or you sit there and the Nets have gotten better, or the Knicks have gotten better, whatever. Then in 2020, they get like a $74 million free check in the mail, and they can ditch Kyle Lowry, and they can ditch an aging Serge Ibaka, and have a very, very good chance of signing some other free agents. So I predict, especially after the run that he's been on there in Toronto, the whole town has embraced him, the whole country is behind him. I think Kawhi is going to stay up in Canada with the Toronto Raptors. All right, question for you guys. Will Kawhi stay in Toronto? Let me know down below. This one's going to be interesting. It's the big domino that's got to fall. What do you guys think? Kawhi stay in Toronto, or does he go somewhere else? Just scroll down, type it up, let me know in the comments down below. And finally, here we go. Kevin Durant, obviously the torn Achilles, means big impact on this. The number 1 player on my top 10 list. Here's the deal. You've heard it probably many times. He can re-sign his player option. He can opt back into the Warriors for $31.5 million this year. And again, he's not going to play this next year, right? He's going to be injured, so he's going to miss an entire season, most likely with the Achilles. So he can opt back in, stay at Golden State, get his treatment, get his money, and then be a free agent in 2020. Or he can sign anywhere he wants and get the Supermax, or the max deal that would be $38.5 million. So do the math there, right? It's like a $7 million bump if he goes somewhere else. Top 3 landing spots, Warriors, Knicks, and Clippers, to me, are the desired destinations. You can always throw in the Nets there as well, who will make a big run at him. And the report is also the Lakers are going to make a run at him as well. And there's no way he's going to go join LeBron James. Just listen, let's just get that completely out of there. I think Kevin Durant, drumroll please, right, will sign with the New York Knicks this offseason. That means, according to my prediction, he would be paired up with Kemba Walker. So you'd have Kemba Walker, the 3rd overall pick, most likely RJ Barrett, and then, of course, Kevin Durant. It makes a lot of sense. I know he's going to sit out the season, but do it in your own mind. Would you rather stay in Golden State for a year, you wouldn't play, make $31 million, or you sign somewhere else, you still don't play, and you make $8 more million per year? Okay, it just makes too much sense. He's going to leave. I don't see him in Los Angeles as a Laker. I really don't see him going to the Brooklyn Nets. The Clippers would be interesting, but talk about LA holding LeBron and KD. He could always re-sign with the Warriors, but I think he's going to want to leave. That leaves the Knicks, and if they get another point guard, whether it's Kyrie Irving or in this case Kemba Walker, Kemba, RJ Barrett, add some role players in there, and then Kevin Durant after next year is a very, very dangerous trio, and I think could be a, arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. All right, final question. What do you guys think? Kevin Durant, where will he end up this offseason? Let me know in the comments down below, because he is, especially if Kawhi stays, the number 1 domino effect here. Like, people won't sign until Kevin Durant goes, and then they'll all fill in accordingly. So what do you guys think? There you go. That was a full segment, top 10 and where I think they will go. Do I think I'm going to get them all right? No, because crazy stuff happens. People take money over wins and wins over money, so we'll see. You can always let me know in the comments down below, how did I do? I'm very curious to get your guys' feedback. and I will, of course, read every single comment as they come in. Again, follow me on Twitter at @RealThomasMott, and for Chat Sports, again, I'm Thomas Mott signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed this NBA video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.